right, guys, what's up? It's Joe back here. This will be going up on my YouTube channel, but you might see a clip of it on Twitter. Me and my friend Dan, obviously, he'll introduce himself, but I'm not even going to say Napoli Central because I don't know. This channel YouTube name might change, but we're going to talk about the Atalanta match and hopefully some stuff about Gattuso, which I'm sure most of you have your own opinions on. But we're just going to have a little conversation, 15, 20 minutes, nothing major. So welcome, Dan.
Hey, Johnny. What's up, man?
What's going on? Give him your Twitter. Give him what you got to give.
Yeah.
You.
So, obviously, I'm Dan. My Twitter account is at drusso225, 2235. Sorry, and yeah, we're here to speak about Napoli.
Yeah, so we'll start with the game. I mean, so much has happened in the past few weeks that we can have a lot of topics we can talk about, but the latest being obviously we're on a Monday right now in the U.S. It was basically it's been a full day since the 4-2 loss to Atalanta, which was absolute crap. Obviously, not a good game. I'll let you get started with it, but I guess just to start it off initially, just we were terrible. Obviously, we still have 7, 8, 9 guys out. We had like 5 Primavera players on the squad list, right? Just like we did Thursday at Granada, which didn't end well, obviously, and probably won't end well again this week. Insigne started on the bench. From what I remember, he came on at about halftime because Spalletti, wasn't 100%. And then the Osimhen thing happened, and we're still not fully clear, but it seemed like he kind of hit his head on something, maybe following a hit, and then he had concussion symptoms. But since then, he's been fine, right? We've learned that he's doing well. So I'll pass it on to you. Dan plays soccer. He's played soccer his whole life. Football, for all you Europeans, they're going to kill me for saying soccer, but he's played his whole life. He knows the game more. So what'd you see from the game?
Listen, there's really, in my opinion, there's not much to talk about from the game. There's really nothing in terms of tactics or setup, whatever. It just seems like Gattuso has his team on the field just with 11 individuals. It just seems like most of the time. You got Osimhen up there whenever he gets the ball. I mean, albeit he missed a few traps. He didn't really look like he was in the best condition to be playing. But even when he had the ball, like there was little to no support for him. In the first half, I think Politano met him maybe once or twice on a pass. Like it was that bad. Obviously, and Almas, oh man, just zero support in the attack. He was almost playing left wing back the whole time for whatever reason. I mean, Mario Rui was doing well enough where Almas could push up the field more. Yet it seemed like Gattuso had, I don't know whether it was the coach's idea or it was himself that made him stay back more. But there was just little to nothing for him going on in the attacking phase. And I don't understand why. I mean, the kid, he seemed like a really good prospect, but for the past few months, other than that one game against Spezia and that goal against Parma, he just looks really out of it. Doesn't seem to be working for us.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with that. But before I even say anything, I mean, I agree with you. But, it's one thing to say we have a lot of injuries because we do. So I guess you kind of can't give too much blame. You know what I mean? Like we know that the managers and at the end of the day, a scapegoat for everything that goes on with the team, right? If they're bad for a long string of games, he's going to be the one to get canned before players do. You can't get rid of players mid-season. And you can, but it's not like a wholesale thing. Not 5 aren't going to leave. You can get rid of some in January, which we did, like Malquis and Llorente, but it comes down to more than that. But injuries, you can't really blame on him. He has to work with what he has, right? But for me, the substitution thing is still a problem, which I know you hated what happened, but I'll just start by mentioning it. The substitution on the corner, right? We had made it 3-2. We got lucky with the own goal, and it seemed like, 15, right? It was like 15 before stoppage time. So 15 plus minutes to say, hey, yeah, maybe we had something, right? We had maybe a chance to do something, right? Mm-hmm. And then the corner is we concede a corner, and then they make the sub. And it's one thing to make that sub on a corner where you maybe want another target or two when you're taking the corner for, on the offense. But, even me who doesn't play the sport knows that something bad always happens when you make a defensive change on the corner, right? They're not set. So I'll let you explain that. But for me, the subs just still are his, like, just his one big downfall besides the tactics where we know it's like literally backward pass galore. Like we'll get to the half field or right near the third, and sometimes we'll literally go, oh, and then pass it back, right? We'll just pass it back, and then it's over.
Yep.
We lose all momentum. But you could talk about the sub because, first of all, the sub was stupid to me. I understand Koulibaly because Maximovic was having another terrible game, and Koulibaly just came back from COVID, but so did Gulam. And that's what I didn't understand. The Gulam thing, it's like, all right, Rui was struggling because of his height too. Zapata took advantage of him on the goal. But Gulam before, it was like we Napoli fans are happy to see him healthy, but he's not the same Gulam anymore. So why are you bringing him on? At this point, put on Chalfi or something. Like put on some attacker. And, you don't have to make a double defensive sub on that corner. The next play you could have made a sub if you wanted to just bring Koulibaly. So, you give me your thoughts. I knew you thought that was sin.
Listen, it's coaching 101. It's fundamentals of coaching. You never, ever, ever substitute on a defensive corner or set piece. Ever. It's just what to begin with, a defender coming in, I know from experience, whenever I've gone in the midst of a second half, whether we're in the lead or behind, you can only make problems for the team as a substitution for a defender. It's like you only really substitute at that high of a level in dire situations. There's never really a reason to sub a wing back or a center back ever especially in a Serie A game. And what Gattuso did, I mean, I understand maybe you put them in for 5 minutes at the end of the game, fine. But what was the point of that for 15 minutes? I don't understand. And then especially obviously with the corner, putting them in on a corner, and what happens? They score right off of it, and it's both of their guys that touch the ball. Koulibaly loses the first guy. I think it goes off of Pessina's head or something. I don't remember who scored. I don't know if you'd remember who actually put in the final touch, but
honestly, I don't even remember. I'm gonna check while you speak.
So all I remember is that Koulibaly missed the first guy that he was supposed to follow.
Oh, the credit went to, was that the 4-2? Yeah, Romero scored.
Romero, okay. So Gulam had Romero. I know that for a fact. He completely lost his mark on the back post, and that's where Romero put it in. But it was flicked on, and the flicked on header was Koulibaly's man. So I mean, literally, that's 100% Gattuso's fault. That substitution, whether or not, when you come in as a sub, you need to be coming in, especially defensively, in positions where you're in a lead or it's just dire straits. And right there, it wasn't dire straits. Rui was fine. I mean, I thought he played a decent game, honestly. I thought both right back and left back were okay yesterday. I don't think they played bad at all. Other than what we read on Twitter, how our fullbacks are horrible. Yesterday, I don't think they were bad at all. Yeah. So honestly, that in and of itself, for me, is a sackable offense. And I think, I don't know, according to reports from today, from various sources, I don't know if there is any foundation to them, but apparently De Laurentiis yesterday, that was like the final nail in the coffin for Gattuso, apparently. And they're going to be looking to get in a new guy within the next week. So I hope it's true. But
yeah, so I mean, I think we're maybe around 10 minutes in, so we'll spend like another 10 minutes talking about what we think can come next. But before we get to the maybe a coaching change, like who you would want, theoretically speaking, hypothetically. Yeah. I also want to talk about the midfield, because at one point we had the best midfield for a couple seasons. Obviously, under Sarri a couple years ago, we had, Alan, Jorginho. It's like you're just in heaven when you're talking about all those quality midfielders. Even like Rog, like back then, Rog was, I'm just saying on paper, like the most inexperienced guy we had, and he was still so physical and did a lot. Yeah, exactly. And now you look at it, and it was kind of a false hope, because you look at it on paper and we still don't have, the names make it look like we have a decent midfield and we have depth. Like Demme came in, actually, he's funny because he came in out of nowhere. No one knew we were even linked to him. He was like the one player we weren't even linked to. And it's he comes in and he's actually freaking good. And it's funny because he's been there for, just over a year and a half or whatever. And he has more passion than a lot of the other players do, because his, the whole story with his father and whatnot, and him being named Diego, just good. But he's literally our best midfielder now with Zielinski, because then you have Lobotka, who's been a waste of money. It's not even, people like to make jokes about his weight and his appearance, whatever. It's not even about that. Just that he hasn't been able to do anything. You know, a player can be memed and all that, but then when it comes to him on the pitch, if he does something, you give him credit, right? He hasn't done anything. Then you have Bakayoko, who fooled us all because in the first 2 or 3 games, he literally was pretty good. And then we were like, oh, he's on loan. This is great. We're gonna have to sign him for next year. And after those 2 games, it's like, all right, you know, please don't come back or please stop starting. Like, but what other choices do we have now that we have all these injuries? But he just has no urgency sometimes when you see him play. And like, again, I don't know the sport. I watch and I learned that way. I never played it, but there's some things he does in the field that just that you look at it and you're just like, Maron, you know, it's like funny. It's just really funny sometimes. So I'll let you talk about the midfield real quick, and then we'll just go real quick with what we think we should do with coaches, because we can't even talk about that much because it's all hypothetical talk. No one knows De Laurentiis. We've known from all these years of being fans, kind of can't predict what this guy does, but you could talk about the midfielder, I guess, yesterday real quick, because I know Bakayoko, and you said it in your little Twitter audio thing that I liked. On those, you know, couple goals, he's with Muriel, but he just gets beat so easy, right?
Yep. And with him, first off, I want to start by saying, give yourself more credit about it, because you know a lot about the game than you give yourself credit for. That's what I'm going to say. First off. Second off, with Bakayoko, the guy, I mean, yeah, he started off those first few games really well. And now we're really thankful that it's just a loan, right?
Yep.
You know, and it's a dry loan too. There's no obligation. There's nothing, because I'm sure if it was an obligation, we'd have to pay, because I'm sure it would have been an obligation with how many games, presentations he had to, you know, actually games he's played. And he's been playing a lot for whatever reason, at the fault of Gattuso, because that's one of his guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the only guys he actually wanted to bring in, and he brought him in. I don't think Osimhen was a Gattuso guy. I think that was a guy like the Società type of guy. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's all on him. Bakayoko not playing well is all on Gattuso. Yeah, because this is a guy that he wanted really badly, because he had worked with him at Milan. I mean, there's some people that say that they don't like each other just because of that. I guess that video where Bakayoko tells him to F off and stuff. But I don't think there's any bad blood between them. Obviously, there isn't, because of how much Gattuso wants him and wanted him, and he keeps playing him. He's playing so bad that even though we need him in this certain situation where there's so many injuries, he should never be playing still. There should be a Primavera kid out there. That's really how bad he's playing, because right now it's as if it's 12 against 10 when he's on the field. With that in my audio on that goal, that I think it was the third goal, right? Or the second goal, where Muriel goes across the box, literally across the box. It's Bakayoko's man. He's not even, he's just poking his foot out. He's not even putting a body in. He's a big guy. He's strong. He's got to go in and foul him, do something. He's just looking at him. And obviously, you know, Muriel goes through because he's a good player and gets it to the right back, across the face of goal, and a goal from Gosens at the back post, which everyone wants to say that was Di Lorenzo's man, but it's almost, being a right back myself, a right and left back, it's nearly impossible to defend that type of situation. In that situation, it's almost impossible to defend what happened in that situation, because it's happening so fast, and Gosens literally comes all the way from midfield in that play. You don't see, as the right back, you're in the box already. We were already so far back. You don't see him coming in behind your back. So to me, instead of putting all the blame on Di Lorenzo all the time, which Napoli fans love to do, even though the guy played a pretty good game yesterday too, I think there's got to be other people to pick on here. And I'm thankful that most Napoli fans are seeing that Bakayoko is just not it. Even our good friend Salad, you know.
Yeah, that was a funny video with his kid. Yeah, that was really funny.
I mean, the guy bought Bakayoko kit, and he's like, I can't believe I did this. You know, I mean, I have a Gabbiadini kit, you know.
Yeah.
I thought Gabbiadini was going to be like the second coming of Jesus Christ for us.
Left foot, yeah.
I loved him so much that I bought a kit of him. And I mean, it's locked up somewhere. I don't know where the hell it is. And I don't want it anymore. But that's
100%.
We're just sick of we're just sick in the head, and that's what we do.
No, but I like having you. Like, I hope we can do this more often because you get the aspect of like you saying like it's hard to defend. Like most people, like even myself, like we never had that firsthand experience, so it's hard to say. From us sitting at home, it's like we're plopped on the couch. We can say anything we want. But it's fun having you on because at least like you've played and you can just describe how you feel in those certain situations when you see it. But so that's sort of what happened in the game for all you guys that are still watching. But let's just spend 3, 4, 5 minutes max just on the possible situation. I want to let you speak to this and then maybe I'll close it off and see if I agree with you. But you already mentioned there's plenty of the reports are that maybe this is that was the final game, or maybe this coming Thursday against Granada, because inevitably, I don't know if we're going to win 3. We have to win 2-0 just to force extras, and then we got to win 3 and not let them concede. It's a joke, right? At this point, it just seems like it's literally, as I like to say, a tall tale that this is going to happen, right? We're just so bad. It just
folklore.
It's just it's something in a folklore book. But who would you want to see if this happens? Because I mean, even you told me before you don't think that there's that much foundation behind it, but you keep getting tremblings of Sarri might return. Then there's obviously we've already heard the 3 other names, Mazzari, which please, he had a nice little run back then with the Trident and Cavani and Lavezzi, just not anymore. Benitez, who didn't really succeed in Italy when he came, like we won the trophy under him, but it's like he hasn't been here and he wasn't that great. Like I think we finished 6th or 5th under him. So whatever. We can't have that. And then you have Spalletti, who is probably Spalletti and Allegri, obviously Allegri being the most successful out of the names we've mentioned. And then Sarri maybe producing the most beautiful football that we've out of the names we've mentioned. But we know that there might be a severed relationship or a fractured relationship there. And it would be crazy in my eyes for De Laurentiis, the persona he's always given off, for him to come into the situation and be not the bigger man, but just sit down with Sarri and actually say, we'd like you back. It's, we were talking about it, but I'll let you emphasize that maybe it's just out of desperation at that point.
Yeah.
But what do you think? I mean, what do you think, as quickly as you can, realistically, who would it be? Do you think Gattuso would stay until the end of the season, or is it coming up? The sacking, is it coming up now? And who would you want to see? Not realistically, but who would you want to see if you had to give? And we'll keep talking about this week by week, because if he keeps staying and we hear more rumors, obviously we'll update the viewers. But go ahead. You give me your take on the situation.
Well, I mean, like you were saying about Sarri, I mean, obviously I'd love to see Sarri back at Napoli, just trying to forget, but I'd have to really try to forget about everything that happened and transpired in these last 2 years, with him going to Juve and saying all the crap that he said about Napoli, basically renouncing his Napolitan side, because he was born there, and I think he grew up there for a few years. I don't know what, I don't really know his backstory too much, but I know for a fact that he was born there. So, and all those interviews in Naples when he was at Napoli saying how he feels Neapolitan and stuff, and then all of a sudden he leaves and it's like, oh, I didn't mean that. For me, him coming back, that's why I say, I even tweeted about it. I say, that just shows ADL is like, he's just lost his mind, because at that point it's as if he's just going back on his decision to get rid of Sarri for Ancelotti, one of the greatest managers of all time, and saying, what, I messed up, which he didn't mess up. Ancelotti messed up, not De Laurentiis. That's a big thing. That's really important, because no one messes up by getting Ancelotti. Okay, let's be clear. So to me, it just seems that him going backwards, it's just him taking a step backwards when we should be thinking forwards. And I mean, yeah, I'd love Sarri for his tactics and the way this team is set up. I think the best results could come under him, but I don't think it's realistic in terms of both of their personalities. They will always clash, him and Sarri. De Laurentiis is not the type of guy to sit back and I don't even know how I would say this, right? Like, let Sarri be the commander there. Yeah. You know what I mean? It always has to be De Laurentiis. And I think that's why Ancelotti didn't work. because Ancelotti wasn't having that. Ancelotti's Ancelotti, you know? You don't go up to Ancelotti and say, I'm the boss. It just doesn't work. And obviously, I think there was always kind of friction, even though they in the interviews, they were all peachy keen about each other, saying, oh, I want Ancelotti for life. That's when it's over. When De Laurentiis says, I want him for life, that's when you know it's done.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question finally, I think for me, it would be Spalletti.
Okay. Long term or just now though?
Realistic. And for long, I think it's a right now and long term.
Okay.
2-3 years. And then obviously results based, maybe more.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know where I'm at because I honestly like sentimentally, excuse me. I mean, the whole Saudi thing is great in a way just for what I remember him as, because we played I'm turning 25 in May, out of me watching the team for about 15 years or so, right? What I can remember is that's the best football we ever played.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone will say that, even people who are older. I mean, obviously, besides the people who've seen Maradona, whatever, and that amazing team back then. So that's the only reason I want him back, is because I think he can get some results. But, it might be too late in the season to even want to bring him back and then see what happens long term. And like you said, and I mentioned before, there's going to be clashing of personalities unless they really come to some sort of miraculous agreement that that's not going to happen. And it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So realistically speaking, out of those choices I mentioned before, I probably agree that it's Spalletti. I just don't know if that's even the long-term answer, because if you were able to wait till the end of the season, and that's the thing, like it would suck for me if Gattuso leaves and we just get like a caretaker, like a babysitter for the rest of the 15 games, because for me that's like, what's the point? Because I get that what's the point, because you don't want to keep losing, but then at the same time you're going to get rid of that guy after the season. It's like hard. We're going to have 4 managerial changes in the past 2 seasons. It's insane.
Yeah.
Spalletti, like, of course he's the more accomplished besides Allegri, but Allegri I don't even think is in the realm like this. I know we didn't think Ancelotti was in the realm of possibility, but I just don't see it. I think Allegri is waiting for something bigger, and some of these other Premier League managing, maybe, who knows? I don't know the guy, but I just don't see that happening. But like, there's rumors of obviously it's Italiano and Judic, but I think the Verona manager like Judic, I think he would be pretty solid. But again, and you talked to me about this before, so I'll just say it because we have to conclude. But even someone like Italiano, right? He's the new like hipster kind of signing. Like, it's like the new guy in town that's producing some nice football out of a team you wouldn't expect it in Spezia. And then, but you mentioned it, and I agree with you. De Laurentiis has already taken multiple risks, even on the Sarri, because under Sarri he was at Empoli, right? And even that was a risk. It just worked. It was a risk that worked. Is De Laurentiis going to take the fourth risk in the matter of 3 seasons by bringing Italiano? It's just, if he wants to succeed, he's not going to do that. And Judic would be nice because he seems to have Verona always playing well. Like, they're always right there in the top 8 or whatever for the past couple of seasons. But will he handle bigger ambitions? Well, we don't know. So it's like, for me, it's just like I tussle with it. Like, I just go back and forth. I don't know. But probably Spalletti would be the guy, I guess. Something in me keeps nagging at me saying, like, I would love to have Saudi back, but you're right. There's just so many different things that went on. Even though he went to Chelsea first, there's just things that went on. The funny thing would be if they brought back Jorginho somehow, and that would be insane. But we've seen that in the past. De Laurentiis doesn't really bring players back, let alone coaches. He didn't bring Cavani back, even though there's been all these rumoring, when we had those freaking false airport tickets that we thought were his, all that dumb stuff happened a couple of years ago. And then I'm your Cavani. It's funny. Like, Io sono tu Cavani. Like, it's just the most hilarious things. It comes out of that guy's mouth. But he brought us to a point where you can't really judge him too much. Just for me, I want to end it off by saying, like, I think this next decision really tells you where De Laurentiis is at in this stage of his presidency with the club.
Yep.
Because he's done everything to bring them to – we were playing PSG, Liverpool, Real Madrid with our heads up every time. We lost those games. We got through to the knockouts in one season, but we play them hard every single time. And that's a lot of him. He hired the coach that did that. He signed the players that did that. But now it's getting to the point where, we've seen he still has to balance the books. Unfortunately, we don't have our own stadium. We don't have the income and revenue that other teams have in Italy. just the way it is. We are not Milan, Juventus, Inter. It's just not possible. But it could be if he wants to. That's the thing. We have to see where his dedication is at. I'm not questioning that he's done everything he could up to now, but I'm starting to wonder where his next step is. Like, is he truly dedicated still to making this club successful at the top level? And you can put your 2 cents on that real quick, because I know you got to go, and then we'll end it. So, what do you see in that scenario with ADL?
Well, I agree with you in that sense, where this is right now. He, like I said, in three different coaches in 2 years, in 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons. Sorry, and it's like right now he has to go with that option that either completely ruins his whole presidency. I hope he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Or he needs to make the right decision right now, and that is maybe Sarri. Because of that's the only way I could possibly think that Sarri is coming back, is because he's out of contract with Chelsea, so that's not keeping him there. That's not keeping him away. There's no there's nothing impeding him signing for a club right now. So, and he's the best option and knows the club.
Right.
So that maybe the only way I could see De Laurentiis even fathoming. That's the only way I could see him fathom a Sarri return.
Yeah.
So it just seems really out of whack right now with everything. It just doesn't seem like the direction of the club is going the way we thought it would. So he really, whatever decision he makes, whether it's Italiano, Juric, Mazzarri, Benitez, Spalletti, we could name every manager. Whatever it is, it has to work. This next manager has to work. Right. Doesn't matter how it happens, when it happens. No, it matters when it happens. Sorry. It doesn't matter how it happens. It needs to work. Otherwise, he might as well sell the club.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough predicament. We'll keep touching on this every week that we do this. We will try to do this weekly. If it won't be the day of the game, because it's tough with me working in where I work, and obviously we're not in, you're in Connecticut, I'm in New York, so it's hard. But we'll keep trying to do this for you guys every week, maybe the day after the match or a couple days after, and this way maybe we have time to collect our thoughts. But I'll end it here. So obviously, huge thanks. I'm glad Dan's actually the person that wants to start doing this. I'm happy you did. If you guys want to see this maybe in just audio form, like you want to listen to it in the car, let me know. If any of you guys got to this point, we're probably like 30 minutes in, so I'm going to stop it. But it was fun. If you have any sign-off messages, you'll let them know. Obviously, go follow them on Twitter, guys, but this will be up on my YouTube channel. You want to say anything?
Just want to say thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for, being who you are, and Forza Napoli.
Yep, Forza Napoli sempre. We'll come up with a name for this, or if you guys have any suggestions, any of our friends that actually watch this, if you want to give us a name, maybe we'll come up with a name. Maybe this can be our own podcast or something. And then if we ever want to get anyone, we're just using Zoom. It's pretty simple. So if anyone wants to join one day, let us know. But all right, guys, we'll catch you guys later. Forza Napoli sempre. And